briefs, 6 p.m. Everybody would join us, we'll stand and put the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, meeting opened at 6 p.m. and the pledge. Before we talk about approving the agenda, it should be noted that item number 10 is no longer necessary. Second page, item number 10. If nobody has any suggestions or corrections, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda relating item number 10.
I'll second it.
Motion was made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I vote yes. Move on to number 4, public input.
I have public input. I did send you all via email, and I presented one to the city council. I'd like to be considered for Ward 3 vacancy. And I just wanted to make sure that I was going to be allowed to interview.
Anything else, or?
Other than one thing, I am seeing a lot of these little mini motorcycles, the tiny ones, with kids on them, going back and forth on 6th Street. We may need to do something in terms of an ordinance or whatever, because these kids, they're 4th graders, and they're going hell-bent for election.
No, I agree.
So that's,
But it's not just 6th Street either.
well, those are the ones I'm seeing, and I did mention it. I visited with Chief Christie this morning. I visited with him on that to let him know. So, other than that,
You want to know about hit my mailbox yesterday?
Oh, yeah. It was
Is there the mailbox?
kind of a problem.
No. I get it.
Is there any other public input?
Yes, Marcus would like to address you. I'm not really sure the best way to do this, so I'm just
Can
gonna...
everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi, guys. So I just had 2 things that I wanted to talk about. First, I think is really simple. Is it possible to have ordinances and resolutions that the council will be considering posted on the website? So for people who, can't get the paper quite as readily.
And before you continue, are you saying before they're considered, or when are you asking, Marcus?
I'm thinking kind of in the same sense when they're like published in the newspaper. So like I'm not saying that they necessarily have to be like super preemptive and just like always up there, but like for like the first reading, and if it's going to be a resolution, then like as soon as they're like aware of, just so like that way if people have comments they want to make on them, such as myself, I don't have the newspaper.
Marcus, this is Pat. What I have been doing is I do publish them right in the body of my minutes. So as an ordinance passes or as a resolution passes, the content of the item is published right in the body of our minutes.
Okay, then is it possible to get like a an asterisk like I don't want to say notification, like I don't want these to be like pushed next thing to send out, but like a little note on the website that also lets people know that ordinances are included in the minutes, just so that way, because like I actually did know that like the minutes included the body, but like I don't think the general public knows that our minutes would also include that on the website. So just like a little, I don't know, like an asterisk little note that's like, language of ordinances or resolutions are contained in minutes, something like that.
Okay, I'll put a little blurb under the word home.
Thank you so much. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about is, I think it'll eventually be discussed under 8. It's the ordinance for a temporary ordinance regarding the issuance of local medical cannabis establishment permits and or licenses. I wanted to talk on this because it was part of our last packet while I was on the council, and then we did talk about it at that meeting, so of course that made it not important at the moment. But I just don't think that the ordinance and the language that's currently contained within is necessary. I also don't think it's allowed, because I think if we say outright that we will just deny all licenses for these establishments between July 1st and whenever the department has their regulations in place, then what we've done is we violated 3420G59, which says that no local government may prohibit a dispensary either expressly or through any enactment of an ordinance that makes the operation of the dispensary impracticable in the jurisdiction. And what we've basically done is we've made it impracticable for any establishment to exist between July 1st when they're allowed to and when we're no longer allowed to prohibit them, and whenever we decide that the regulations are enough such that they may be allowed.
Can you repeat again? It was 3422?
3420G59.
20G.
Yes, it's a weird one, sorry.
That's all right. It was a 59. I mean, I see that it talks about 3420G in this
Yeah.
ordinance,
So
but
3420G is the section that like just includes all things about the medical marijuana statute that was passed, or the initiating measure. And we have authority under 58 to pass time, place, manner, and number requirements. I don't think an outright ban, even if it's temporary, is permitted because 59 expressly prohibits. It was just something that's my personal thought on it, and I also wanted to bring it up so that way you guys could talk with legal counsel specifically on that issue. I don't know if Sam's there. I can't see. Okay, but that was just something I wanted to bring up since I know it's a big issue in South Dakota right now. Thank you.
yes, thank you. So 59 is not listed here. I guess I don't know what 59 says in its entirety, but evidently there must be something that says that you can't just, I mean, it's got to be similar to a liquor license. You can't turn somebody down for a liquor license just because we don't like the look of their face. It has to be for a legitimate reason. It has to be that they've committed some felonious act that allows a person to turn them down. Is that basically what 59 is saying?
It just says you can't make it impractical.
Yeah, 59 says you may not prohibit a dispensary either expressly saying you can't have them here, or through the enactment of an ordinance that makes operation impractical. I can address this now, or I can address it at a later time, Mayor, whatever you prefer.
Well, I guess we are going to be discussing this quite a bit in legal updates anyway, so if that's all right, we'll just wait with that. You all right with that, Marcus? We'll discuss that
Yeah.
further in a bit.
That's perfectly fine. I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public input at this time? Well, I've got actually two things I'd like to talk about. First of all, I'd like to ask Melissa Kai to step forward, please.
Well, you didn't even know I was gonna be here.
Well, I'm just like,
Anticipate.
I'm putting you down, but I'm putting you on the podium, back on a pedestal where you belong.
there you go. It should be noted that this is a plaque made out of premium alder, made in the USA. And it is a plaque that says, "From the city of Alcester, presenting this award to Melissa Kai in recognition of service as city alderman." We do appreciate what you've done.
You are very welcome. I enjoyed it very much, so thank you for this.
I clapped as well.
Thanks, Marcus.
So then I have one other bit of information, and it kind of goes back to something that I discussed a few meetings ago. It's ironic that Marcus is on the phone. Linda is, of course, here. A couple of meetings ago, I mentioned specifically that there were some emails that were going around that basically were scammers that were using the name of the mayor, Dan Hayter, as the header for an email that asked for help, financial help, of course. And at that time, I suggested that maybe we needed to even spend a little bit of extra time, whether it's an article in the paper, Gordon, I don't know. I mean, you know, we get hit with this all the time, spammers, scammers, all this different stuff. But I can tell you, it's an unfortunate situation, but it happened again. And unfortunately, they were successful. So please, everybody, talk to everybody and say, just ask a question, a simple question. I mean, in my case, I mean, I've got a phone, I got a cell phone, I got a landline phone, I got a work phone, I got, people know where I am almost every minute of every day. So even if it says, Donald Trump is asking for your help, well, you may say, I don't really care, but some people will just immediately jump on there and say, we got to do something. Well, spend a little bit of extra due diligence, extra time, and make sure that you're not going to end up wishing that you hadn't gotten involved. So, I think, Gordon, I'd like to maybe come down and visit with you sometime in the not too distant future, and maybe we can even put together something that will help, or at least will enlighten people a little bit more.
You bet.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Any comment?
Yes.
I just remember when I was on the council, we had talked about getting official, like, ward emails. And I think, not that this would necessarily solve scammer problems, because they'll always, you know, try. But I think, like, if we had official emails, and then we had something in the newspaper, like, as part of our minutes or something that just says, the official emails for representatives of the city will be these emails. If you're contacted by any other email, call your representative or something like that, like as a warning, so that way they know, like, hey, that isn't the email that they're supposed to be contacting you through. That was just a thought I had.
But the one that I got just said Daniel Hayter on it, the last one I got.
Really?
The first one did not say that, but the last one said Daniel Hayter, and that's what I called
I
Pat.
think the first one that you got a few months ago, a
Said
couple months ago, I think it's P President at whatever.
Yeah, but this one just said Daniel Hayter. When I click on Daniel Hayter, it goes to your phone number on my phone.
Oh, that's because you have me in your contact
And
list.
so, but
Yeah.
when I click on Daniel Hayter in the email, when I click on your name,
Sure.
it takes me right to you.
It's going.
So they've done a good job of
Absolutely.
this.
To make it look like it really is
Yes,
coming from me.
absolutely.
The point that I'm making is, a lot of times when you point at a header, let's say it says Dan Hayter or Daniel Hayter, if you just hover over that for a little while, all of a sudden, here comes the actual email.
Yeah, and I couldn't get that, and so I don't know.
And I think it depends on what platform you're using, whether you're
Maybe.
using, you know.
Yeah, if somebody
a phone
has
or-
something that they can look at, they can sure look at mine. But
I
in
wouldn't mind.
regard, if we start posting all these emails, they're still gonna be able to access it.
Well, that's
They-
exactly what happened here.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Van Larsen. I mean, we've got a website, a Custom Coils website, and all of a sudden, people are getting emails from Van Larsen that say, hey, I need your help, you know? And what are you gonna do, say no? Well, if you look at the email address, you will. But if you just look at the name Van Larsen or V Larsen at,
Yeah,
that makes you just automatically say, oh, gotta take care of this, you know? And it's good that we are that way. It's good that we're so caring and so willing to help out our fellow person. However, I think we need to work on being a little bit more diligent all the way around. It's unfortunate.
and we were gonna talk about, on public input, about the email address. We talked about that
Right.
yesterday.
Right, and I'm glad Marcus brought that up.
Yes.
I think that's gonna help. However, in this case, it wouldn't. Because it was actually, the email address was hidden behind that header to begin with. So all it said was Dan Hayter. It didn't say an email address
Yeah.
until you actually drilled down into that header, and then you could see the underlying email address
So,
from whence came the message.
but then if we did that, I talked to you today about that too, then maybe we can get things to go here, right? We talked about
Oh,
that?
yeah, we could do that.
If we had a specific email address, everything could go to our notebooks.
So now, let's recap that. What she's talking about in public input is the fact that instead of killing all these trees
Right.
with all these documents, we could be sitting here looking at these like a lot of places do, and all the documents are there, they're just in digital form.
And we got these free, and I think we need to utilize them. I
I
think
agree.
that's what they were there for.
Okay. Any other public input at this time? Hearing none, we will go on to item 5, Ward 3 vacancy, interviewing candidates. I know Vicki Larsen has sent us a letter. We've interviewed her prior to tonight, and I see no difference in the letter. The only thing that has happened since the last interview has been time has passed.
And we have another
And we
councilman.
do have 2 new aldermen. How do
Cindy,
you,
were you in on it, on the last interview with Vicki? I was thinking she was in.
She was in,
She
Brian was
the only one
not,
that was in on it.
which is why I asked to
Okay.
be interviewed again.
what do you think? What say you? Do we do it?
Just do it.
Okay, then we will need to go into executive session for an interview or interviews. And I would need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2-1 for Alderman interviews.
I'll second that.
Motion was made and seconded to enter into executive session according to SDCL 125-2-1, Alderman interviews. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. We are in executive session at 6:18.
We need a vote.
All in
I guess
favor?
we should vote first, sorry. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So used to doing a roll call vote too. 6:19 PM, we are in executive session. All right, we will call the city council out of executive session at 6:50 PM, 5-0. We've had 2 interviews. I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion. So we would need a motion to appoint if we were intending to do so.
I will make a motion to appoint Kurt Kaiser as Ward 3 alderman until the next election.
I'll second that.
Motion was made and seconded to appoint Kurt Kaiser as Ward 3 alderman until the next election, which would be next April 2022. Is there any other discussion at this time? Hearing none, I think we are going to go with a roll call vote here. Linda?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Carla?
Aye.
Ryan? Aye. Cindy?
Aye.
I vote yes. And Kurt Kaiser, you then would be appointed as alderman for Ward 3. We have an oath of office here that our legal representative will administer. And if you would, please take your seat. I appreciate it.
Before you sit down, Kurt, you want to raise your right hand? Okay. Repeat after me. Can you stand?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. I, Kurt Kaiserman,
I, Kurt Kaiser,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
I will support the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of South Dakota,
of the State of South Dakota,
that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of alderman
the duties of alderman
in and for Ward 3
in and for Ward 3
until the next election date
until the next election date,
in the city of Alcester,
City of Alcester,
Union County, South Dakota,
Union County, South Dakota,
to which office I've been duly appointed.
which office I have been duly appointed.
And you will fill your name out here and sign a date and pass your form.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I'll see if I can get part of that. Thank you. Yep, aye.
This is 17th, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, please. And I don't know,
Thank you.
You are
I
welcome.
guess I've got 2. Could you maybe hand those to
Thank
Linda?
you.
We can make another copy of that if we need to.
Anybody need these?
I would like one, please. Thank you.
Would you like them?
You want one, Melissa?
If you have one, I guess, it
Could
doesn't matter.
could you print that twice more for us? I don't have
The
to
council
either.
committee?
Yes, please.
Chief, if you can have one.
Oh, okay, and then I'll just borrow yours. I'll give it back to you. I don't need it, I got it on my computer, so.
I don't need to see yours on that one.
So all of you get an opportunity to look at this. You wouldn't think it's that big a task. By the way, Kurt, do you go by Kurt or Curtis? How do you call yourself?
Either one works, usually.
Ed, Fred, Ted, doesn't matter, right? Okay, well,
Anybody at Mr. Doberstein for an activity, you're saying call me anything you want, call me late for supper.
that's right, there you go. Okay, well, so you'll see Ward 3 alderman. That would be you. So everywhere where you see the words Ward 3 alderman, that would be your name in there. So, for instance, Cindy Peoples would be the chairperson for Finance and Budget, Dave Larsen would be a member, and Kurt Kaiser would be another member. Notice that there are 3 aldermen, that way at no time is there a quorum. One thing that we should discuss, so that everybody's aware of it, is that 4 aldermen shouldn't really get together to discuss any kind of business, because in essence, you're conducting a meeting, and that that actually breaks the open meeting laws. Now, if you're at the same ball game and you happen to be on the same bleacher, it's fine, but you see what I'm saying? All right. So it should be self-explanatory. Any of the highlighted bolded stuff are the chairpersons. I don't know if anyone has any issues with any of their assignments, but one thing you can rest assured, if there is some issue somewhere down the line, whether it's 2 days, 2 months, or 2 years from now, I don't have a problem with changing something. So we really should have people kind of mix around a bit so that they have the opportunity to see what the difference is between being on the liquor store committee and, for instance, the golf course or what have you. So, I don't know, I thought there was always an actual formal approval of that.
You just appoint you.
It's just done. All right then.
Awesome power.
Phenomenal cosmic power, itty-bitty living space. Yeah, all right. Number 6 is done. Department head updates if needed. I don't know if we have a water, wastewater, but I do know that one thing that was brought up was the water for the fairgrounds area, and I think that that's still kind of in the works, correct?
Correct.
I don't know, I'm sure we're going to talk more about the legal contract. Okay, so we'll get into that. So as far as the wastewater portion of it goes, I think that's, it's not necessarily limbo, but it's still just a work in progress. So, I don't know of anything else. Street, well, I may be a little bit skewed in my opinion on this, but it would really be nice if they would do more with the corner of Park Avenue and 6th. Now, granted, I'm patient. I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than it could be, but I think...
They will fix it when they asphalt.
Right, but it would be nice even if they would just build it up a little bit more, because it's got some pretty sharp edges.
There was somebody up there this morning working on it.
Oh, was there? Let's say I drove home, and I guess I probably wasn't really paying that much
They had
attention.
they had a skid loader up there this morning, moving things out. putting
Okay.
some more stuff on.
Well, that could be, so they're keeping an eye on it, that's good. As far as the swimming pool goes, I do know that the pool is full, and it was really full the other day. How are we sitting as far as people coming to work? Got good numbers of help?
Yep, and we'll talk about that a little bit later also in hiring some more, because some more came forward.
The reason I mentioned that is, it was ironic that they also talked about the swimming pools at Sioux Falls tonight on the news. And they were talking about, it's a chore to try to get people to come, and then you could hear that everybody has the same problem.
Yeah.
Retaining people to stay for a length of time. That's probably the biggest deal. As far as the police department goes, I guess I didn't notice, do we have a police report in here?
Oh,
Just the
yes,
first
that's
one.
right.
Yeah, okay, of course. He had texted me and asked me whether I thought he would be needed, and I said I don't see a reason why you would have to be there. You're of course welcome, but he opted to spend the time at the office and patrolling, so if he is needed, we can get in touch with him though. How about the cemetery and landfill?
So far, so good?
Good?
Parker still needs to keep the water on those trees.
Is he not putting water in the buckets?
I don't know. I've never been by the way the buckets are full, but he's got 6 holes in the bottom of it, so it probably takes 15 minutes to get it out.
Well,
They put a bucket by the tree in Hyden, and it's a very small hole, and mesh in front of, with pea rock on the bottom, so it does take a couple days to drain.
Yeah.
At least the bucket in my circle.
I may have to donate a couple more buckets because he's got a couple trees that need a bucket.
Okay.
I've got a bunch too.
Do you?
Okay, we will go on to the golf course.
We got a big weekend coming up. There's a tournament on Saturday and a family get-together renting the clubhouse on Sunday, so we're doing fine.
Good. And then, of course, you could also speak about the library as well.
Summer library program is going to be kicking off. Unfortunately, part of that month-long summer reading program or 5-week-long summer reading program, our librarian has to be gone for the state librarian certification meeting. So Dee will be back subbing.
Couldn't ask for a better so.
It'll be in good hands.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions about any of that or any concerns that they can think of? Something that maybe we want to talk about next meeting? That's something to think about too over the next few weeks. Well, now I guess we got a 3-week break because Memorial Day kind of messes with that every other week meeting thing, so.
But you will have a council meeting next Monday.
Well, that's right. We will have an extra meeting in here, so. All right, then we will move on to number 8 and discuss legal updates. You want to start out with the executive session?
Sure, that works for me if it works for you.
Okay, we will need a motion to move into executive session for legal reasons.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2-3 legal.
I'll second it.
Motion was made, seconded to enter into executive session pursuant to SBCL 125-23 legal. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6, yes. And it is 7:00, I'm gonna call it 7:03 because it's just there. 7:03 PM. There it is. Commissioners' minutes in the paper, they do like 2-3 intermissions during a meeting. Well, for those of us that are a little older, that's not a bad thing, you know? Drink a little bit too much coffee, drink a little bit too much water, whatever.
Can you call us out?
So, it is 7:14 PM and we are now out of executive session. And we would need a motion dealing with a waiver if we were going to approve this waiver.
I'll make a motion to approve the voice waiver authorization.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the voice waiver authorization. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes.
I guess that's what I'd like to say for a minute. I'm not voting nay or for it. I'd rather abstain because I don't have my head wrapped around it a little bit yet on you, so.
I understand. So then I'm going to change it to 5 aye and 1 abstention. Okay.
If I may be recognized, may I ask what the voice waiver is? Just a simplification on what it is?
Sure.
Go ahead.
If you want.
No, go ahead.
You don't have to recognize it. It's waiving a potential conflict with respect to voice law firm. That's
Okay,
all.
up
It's
to-
waiving a potential conflict with respect to Boyce Law Firm.
Okay, thank you.
That's about all I can tell you, Vicki.
Well, I figured it was something like that, but I wasn't sure that it was a law firm.
All right, so now let's talk about ordinance 2021-09. Marcus brought up a point, and I guess I don't know how you feel about it, Sam. I don't know, I mean, I guess I can see his point regarding you don't have the right to necessarily limit somebody, but at the same time, all this talks about, and they use, what is the word, that promulgation. So really, all we're saying is, we're just not going to do anything until the state promulgates or supports or promotes the rules. Now, I see what he's saying. If July 1st rolls around and the state hasn't done that for whatever reason, we could be in trouble if we were to say, no, you know, Darla, I know you want to start up a dispensary over here on 2nd Street, but you can't because we're not going to let you. Well, I can see where that could be a problem. So, is there a way to maybe rewrite the ordinance so that it...
Sure, so I can just kind of give you the background. This ordinance was developed by a team of several lawyers. There was a small group working on it, and then there was a larger group providing input and feedback. This was done pursuant to a request by the municipal league, and the municipal league had actually hired a small group of lawyers to draft this. For you new folks, the municipal league is a entity that is basically a clearinghouse for information, for best practices, for municipalities throughout the state. They also engage in lobbying efforts. Full disclosure, I lobby on their behalf in Pier, but they lobby on things like municipal ordinances, you know, what you can and can't do. So it's a big group of cities, and it's kind of, the counties have a similar couple things, Association of County Officials, and then they've got an Association of Elected County Representatives. But it's a resource clearinghouse, amongst other things, and they advocate for cities up at the legislature. So anyway, it was recognized when initiated Measure 26, which is your medical marijuana ballot measure, passed. It was recognized that there would need to be a lot of work at the state and local level for everything from zoning to what exactly can you have at a dispensary, what are the health and safety things that are going to govern a dispensary. So the issue with the statute that was identified is that possession of medical cannabis and the use of medical cannabis is legal July 1. So if July 1 you're standing on the street corner and you've got medical cannabis, it's going to be a lot more difficult for law enforcement to cite you for a violation statute. Not impossible, but it becomes more difficult. The initiated measure gives until October 29th to the State Department of Health to promulgate rules for how you can operate a dispensary. And they're long, and if you look at the back of this thing, you'll see in the thing that says Section 1, you'll see two statutory definitions, 3420G1. That defines what a medical cannabis dispensary is. If you look a little further in there, you'll see 3020G72. 3020G72 is the place in statute where it tells the Department of Health all the rules they have to establish in order to get a state permit to run a cannabis establishment. So that law has to be complied with by October 29th. And in the statute, I'll just read you, it's got several sections, 1 through 10, and then it's got subsections A through E in a lot of these different parts, but it says, you've got a governing medical cannabis establishments to ensure the health and safety of qualifying patients, everything from restrictions on advertising, signage, and display, to health and safety, pesticides. I mean, because these folks can dispense and can also grow. So the state has a lot of work before them. SDCL 3420G55 talks about how you've got to apply to the state for a license. Then 20G-56 says that we can limit it locally. So you can get your permit from the state to have a grow house, and you've complied with everything, and then you can come to Alcester, and if we have a permit process that says we're only having 5 of these in town, and I'm so sorry, but you're guy number 6, we're full, that's okay. The statute for that is 3420G56. It says a local government can enact a numerical limit on the number of medical cannabis establishments. And if there are more people that seek a license, then we have licenses available. The department shall solicit and consider input from the local government as to its preferences for registration. So you got to get a permit from the state, but we have an amount of local control that we can exercise. Now this gets more complicated for zoning, okay? Like if if Dave and I decide we're going to open Cannabis R Us right across from a daycare or the school playground, there may be some ways that we can say that's
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not the best way to do things. So, SDCL 3420G58, and I apologize, I'm reading you a lot of numbers, but 20G-58 says a local government may enact an ordinance not in conflict with this chapter, meaning all the state regulations. You can't make it easier to own one of these establishments or operate one. But we can govern the time, place, manner, and number of medical cannabis establishments. So this is not exactly like, but sort of similar to a liquor establishment. If you guys have a liquor license open, and I come down and I want to own a bar, and you do a criminal background check on me and say, man, Sam Nelson has sold to minors 25 times in the last 10 years. I don't think he's a suitable person. You can say we're not giving you a liquor license. So we could, and there are a number of things in statute already that say what you gotta, you can't be we're not gonna have people that used to be in the drug cartel opening medical cannabis things if they've spent any time in federal prison, most likely. So, all that to say that in section 2 in our very bottom piece of the ordinance, 11-4-3.1 and 19-13, those are your statutes that allow us to pass this ordinance in an expedited manner to get it into place. What happens if you don't pass it? A lot of the reason for this is we don't have any of the criteria set by the state. So if we don't have a permit process, we are establishing with this a permit process, that we're going to have a permit process, and then we're saying we're not issuing any permits at the local level until we see what the state of South Dakota comes up for criteria. Marcus's point, which is well made, and I understand where he's coming from, but I disagree with slightly, is that he's saying you can't do this because you're denying a person the ability to have a license. Well, he's sort of right, but also you're not going to be able to get a state license until the state comes up with its criteria. So we are deciding as a municipality we're not going to issue any municipal licenses until we know exactly what checklists you've got to meet on behalf of the state. Again, what happens if we don't have this? Sam Nelson could come in, I could buy a building, I could spend $100,000 setting it up to be a grow house, and then if you guys don't do anything or don't have this ordinance, and later you decide, well, we don't know that we want this across from the school, I can say, too bad, I'm grandfathered.
Too late.
You're passing this ordinance now to pick on me. So it's a stopgap. The language that Marcus is concerned about, and again, I understand his concern, is 59, I'm sorry, thank you, Dave. 59, no local government may prohibit a dispensary expressly, so we can't say you can't have one, which we're not doing, or the enactment of an ordinance that make the operation of a dispensary impracticable in the jurisdiction. So the response to that is, it's sort of impractical impracticable because the state hasn't acted. 1. 2, we're not saying you can't do it. We're saying we're not issuing a permit to do it until the state says what you need to do to get the state license. So one could argue legally you're making it impracticable. I don't think that gets very far in court if we say to the judge, hey man, October 29th, the state's gonna have the checklist and then we're good to go. When I look at impracticable, an example of that would be if we passed the zoning ordinance that says we're gonna make a 10-foot by 10-foot square downtown in the industrial section of town, and that's the only place you can build a dispensary. It's impracticable to really run that kind of business out of a 10-foot by 10-foot box, but maybe there'd be somebody to try. So, that is a long explanation, I'm sorry. A lot of times I gotta kind of go into the weeds on this, but that's the purpose for the ordinance. It's temporary. A lot of people smarter than me worked on it, so I think it's okay. You're gonna have some risk that somebody could come in and say it's not lawful. Practically speaking, by the time they get any traction on doing that, October 29th is come and gone, and so it's a moot point. But I do feel that this is a necessary stopgap for the city to pass, just so that we don't have things get out of control.
Sam, do you know, are they gonna do applications like we do for malt beverage and liquor?
I assume that's the intent, but I do not know for sure, Pat. I can try to find out what the department is thinking, but there will be some kind of application process, and I think it's -55 or something. No, -72, set 20G-72 sets forth just a ton of criteria.
Okay,
So, sorry, I don't have a better answer.
no, that's okay.
Awful lot of chatter, folks. Did anybody have any questions? Okay.
So there's no action on this tonight, it's just to let you guys start to digest this. We do have to have a special meeting next Monday, which it has been advertised as a public hearing. So if people in your wards want, have questions.
Is it at 6 or 6:10?
The meeting starts at 6, but the public hearing will be
Okay,
at
all right.
6:10.
So that's another, oh, by the way, for those of you that are just now starting on the council or just new to the council, there are special meetings on occasion where we would have 3, rarely 4 a month. So it's not impossible.
It will not be there.
Okay.
I have to speak at an event, so.
Oh.
Ooh,
Good for
that
you.
sounds cool.
And I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it back, take my mom to a doctor. But I can be reached by phone, you know. If everything goes good, we'll be out of there in time.
Oh, we'll see what 6 o'clock brings Monday the 24th, huh?
Yep. Try.
So, thank you very much. That was very good. I think it was very good discussion. I know there are probably 1,000 questions that we're gonna think of. I know I will, probably 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll wake up and I'll say, oh, I wish I would have asked whatever, but we got time. So, it's not gonna happen tomorrow. It's actually gonna happen next Monday. So, we've had discussion. If there is no more, we'll move on to actually setting the special meeting date and time.
A motion to set a special meeting on May 24th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for the special meeting date of May 24th, 2021 at 6 p.m. With obviously the published public
Here.
hearing that would start 10 minutes after the beginning of that meeting. Is there any other discussion at this time? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. We'll move on to letter E, nuisance property update.
Only real update, Mr. Mayor, is I did get a chance to talk with Mr. Huff on the Larsen property. His attorney that was handling that, as you know, had some issues. She's no longer employed at that firm. He's taking that case back over. He did represent to me, and I'm giving an overview, so I'm not sure I'm getting this exactly right, but my understanding was he'd had some contact with Mr. Clausen within the last month or two, and there had been some structural work done on part of the property as well as some cleanup. So I'd sent him an email asking him to provide us an update, a timeline, and specifics on what the next step was. He's reaching out to his client, and I hope to hear back from him this week. I also need to let Mr. Phillingsness know that because he has been keeping tabs on the property.
Good man.
Very eager for me to continue to move this. That's the only other legal update I had, Mr. Mayor. I also, if you need any explanation on item 9, I'm kind of involved in that too.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Back to the nuisance property though. The property over on Ofsted, I believe there was a plan maybe in,
Yep, we did have a roll-off delivered,
okay,
and I thought I had somebody to clean out the property, and then that did not transpire. And Lauren needed the roll-off back, so Lauren came and got the roll-off. He is going to deliver a new one possibly this Tuesday or next Tuesday. He'll let me know. And I do have 2 people ready, willing, and able to clean up the property. And they will do it on Wednesday.
And
And I
for-
will also have Parker mow the grounds that needs to be mowed.
Just got a question, Mr. Chairman, are we still talking about the same property?
No.
Okay, there's 2
no,
different properties.
the
Yes.
first one is on
Iowa.
Iowa, excuse me, it's right over here on Iowa
Bay-
Street.
Bay Oaks Old House.
Okay.
And the other one is on Ofsted, just south, or excuse me, just north of Second. On the west side of Ofsted. And that property is actually owned by the city now, and it will be demolished, razed to the ground, and then eventually turned into an empty lot for sale.
It's kind of kitty corner from Ann and Jurgensen's.
Oh, okay.
And I know you've done quite a bit of legwork on trying to round up all the PPE that's necessary for somebody to go in there because it's pretty bad in there, so. All right, then we will move on to item number 9, that's deed transfer. And I know that Sam suggested that he may have some input here too.
So you may recall, we took this property right now from the school district. I think we jointly own this building, the library portion, correct, Beth? At one point, or how did I?
Well, the school deeded it through their school board, they deeded 2 parcels to the city. This parcel, which goes up to like the library, or the home ec room, and then the parking lot across the way. And so their school board has deeded it to the city, and so now our step would be to deed it to the industrial board. So the city will be a renter of this building, and will work under the industrial board.
So the reason, I'm gonna just tell you is, I don't recall the specific reason we did it, but it was either the school holds it or the city holds it. The industrial board can hold it as well, but there might have been a tax consequence or whatever, but there's a reason that we had the school do it to the city as another government instead of the industrial board. But now the industrial board's ready to do some things, so it makes sense for us to deed it to them. Your motion would only be to authorize the deed transfer, and then once we get the deed written, the mayor can sign it. So all you're doing is authorizing the transfer, and then the mayor and I will take care of the specifics. Any questions? Okay.
So, any other discussion? And if not, I would need a motion to approve that deed transfer. And a second.
I'll make a motion to prepare and execute the deed transfer from the city of Alcester to the Alcester Industrial Board for parcel 01.01.23.1002, tract 3, block 23, original city, Alcester City.
Excuse me, just a minute. You said track 3.
23.
No,
Track
you
2.
said track
Did I
3,
say?
yeah.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. Tract 2, block 23.
Thank you.
Original Alcester City and parcel 10.100.21.5055, school lot 2, southeast quarter south,
That's also supposed to be southeast, sorry.
okay, southeast
Change that to the knee.
quarter, less 5,676 square feet of the right-of-way.
Right away, yes.
Okay.
Oh, quite a mouthful for a motion, but does anybody wish to second that motion?
I just have a question.
Yes.
It looks like the city has these two bigger well, they show one parcel here, but within that parcel, there's different tracks, 2 or 3 tracks.
Right.
It got split, they
So the
split.
parking lot is one of the tracks you're talking about?
The parking lot is actually in the county, so the parking lot is parcel 100021. This parcel is like a L-shaped parcel.
Okay.
So it is all the grass, the greenery, and this part of the building. The school is keeping control of the FFA building.
Okay.
That's track 3.
And how about the area from the home ec building to the old gym?
That is the school still.
Okay. So I've got it recorded that Linda has made a motion. I don't know if there's any other discussion, but
I'll second if it hasn't been seconded.
Dave seconded the motion. Now, is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6 yes. Yes.
This will be real quick. Sorry, I forgot this, folks. You've been handed out a, what I'm gonna just call a sample of some different ordinances. I actually can't remember the cities I got them from, but you may recall a while ago, we had some folks come in and talk about outside yards and cars and those types of things. So no action needed on this. It's just a way they do things in other towns that you should look at, because I know we wrestled with this in town. We don't want to pick on anybody, but we also want to make things sightly. So this is, if you're looking for something to read to make you fall asleep, city ordinances will do that. So if you want to take a look at some of this stuff on property maintenance and keeping your property orderly, this is just something.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Right in the center of the page, you'll see the words maintenance of premises. That's what he's talking about. These are just guidelines.
This is a sample kind of what.
Yep, what they're doing in other towns, it seems to be working. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. If you might excuse me.
No problem if you're,
I'll have my cell phone if you get me a pickle and need.
thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we skip over
Do you want
number
your
10.
briefcase?
It's no longer with us.
Do you want your briefcase?
Yeah, that's a really important one.
Okay.
Thank you. That's got all my really important stuff in there. That's not the first time that's happened either.
Maybe your lunch, Bill.
Yeah. You guys have a good night.
All right, we would move on to number 11, hiring seasonal summer employees.
We had 2 applicants come to the city. One is a new lifeguard Her name is Sarah Schroeder. She's from Canton. Her family is, her father is the minister of the Remote Parish Church, so they kind of live halfway in between Canton and Alcester. Sarah is scheduled to take the lifeguard class on September 22nd, May 22nd and 23rd.
Russian.
So upon successful completion of that, I'm asking that we hire her to be a lifeguard.
What's the name again?
Sarah Schroeder, Mill Beach. So I'm asking for the same rate as our other new lifeguards, which would be $9.75 an hour. The other person would fill in out at the golf course. Her name is Melissa Conen. Coenen. She is new to the Alcester area, just bought a home on Iowa Street, and from, I think, the Wisconsin area, and she is a trained bartender. And so she would offer assistance out at the clubhouse for some nights and weekend shifts. And I would ask to hire her at a rate of $10 an hour.
They live in Tom Glass's home.
Correct.
So do we pretty much have a full lifeguard? Are we getting there?
I think have gotten pretty close to what we're gonna get this
think
year. I think we have 7,
I was gonna say
8.
8, maybe 7. Somewhere in
How
there.
many do you usually have? How many do you
I think
we-
last year we only had 6.
Yep. So how many WSIs out of that?
4.
4. Well, that's
That is nice.
3 first time.
Actually, 5.
3 first-time lifeguards, and so we have 8.
Okay, yep, we do have
3
8.
first-time guards and 5 WSI.
I have a question.
Yes.
In general, this $9.75 to $10 an hour, how does that compare to local, like Burger King and Casey's and some of those places around here? Because these people have to be trained besides, right? They got a lot more responsibility.
Sure.
Yes.
So are we in line with what those kind of jobs you're saying and exceeding them?
I have not looked to see what some of the, like,
I'm just
Casey's or
curious.
any of those
Good question.
are an hour.
I saw the other day that Centerville possibly isn't even opening their pool. At this point, they have no lifeguards.
Wow.
I think Casey's was advertising, when I went through Beresford, was it $9.75 starting?
Okay.
I believe they had a sign out.
Okay. Yeah, I've never called them.
Yeah.
And this position doesn't, they don't get that many hours, do they?
You know, it depends how many hours they want.
Okay.
And then we also like to have quite a few guards on staff, just because
Oh, my.
a lot of these people are
Only
in
$200.
sports, and then they have
I'll buy
their
3 of them.
camps, and then they're gone. So it's nice to be able to have people from different school districts,
That
because then we
wasn't,
probably won't have camps at the same time. So,
And as a meeting or two ago, we will be paying half of their cost of getting certified.
And if they stay another year, then we'll pay the other.
Okay. Good
A
idea.
little bit of incentive to keep them coming back, so.
it's
All right.
also kind of exciting, we're having families from Canton call to want to be a member of our pool.
To see if we're,
Not opening then?
No.
They are
Right.
not going to.
they didn't know if we had any regulations that it was only for like in-town
Yeah,
people.
like it was
So,
last year.
Yep, they were wondering if they were free to pay for a pass, and it's, you betcha.
Yeah,
Bring your money
absolutely.
south.
Absolutely.
Is there any other discussion before we deal with the motion? I think we can make a motion for both individuals. If somebody would move and second.
I'll move.
Yes, I didn't look, is it C-U-R-T-I-S?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second it.
And just to be certain, your motion would be for these two individuals at these dollar amounts? Would you please read, did you happen to write them down?
$975 for one position and $10 for the other.
And the 975 is Sarah Schroeder from Canton, and the $10 is Melissa Conan from here in Alcester. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. There is an executive session listed here for personnel.
I make a motion, we enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2-1 personnel.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to enter into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2-1. Is there any discussion at this time? Hearing none, we are in executive session at 7.
We need a vote.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Just trying to. Hearing no discussion.
Mind reading
At this time, no. I'm sorry. Hearing no discussion at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now then, we're in executive session at 7:47 PM. And all right, it is 8:05 PM and we are out of executive session. And we can move on to reminders and updates. You'll see the garbage collection route returns to the normal collection areas May 17th. There will be a special city council meeting next Monday, the 24th at 6 PM, which includes at 6:10 PM a public hearing of that ordinance regarding pot. Yeah, medical pot. Memorial Day will be the following Monday, and the office will be closed, and the pool opens June 1st. And just so you're aware, today is what, 17th? A month and 4 days from now, the days start getting shorter again.
We don't want to hear
Yeah, I
that.
figured most people don't really like to hear that, but I'm looking forward to cold.
Are you?
Yeah,
And
it's
the locusts
plenty
are
warm as
supposed
far
to
as.
be, or the
Cicadas.
cicadas are supposed to be thicker this year.
Yes, they
than
are.
normal.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I don't know of any other reminders. One of the things that we had discussed a little bit ago, or like the last meeting, was the possibility of changing our garbage collection route. And I don't know how many of you get a chance to talk to your constituents, but it would really do our streets a lot of good to make that garbage collection route just, that he just travels down the street one way.
I agree with that,
Ours is
totally.
not for it, mine is not for it.
I know there's
Yeah, I
a
mean,
number
there's
of.
some areas where it's not gonna work,
Maybe
obviously.
it wouldn't, but
I think we're gonna have issues with, well, so-and-so's coming and getting their cans, bringing them back, and someone's gonna leave them there and not go get them.
Yeah, I think as far as the streets are concerned, it's slow travel. You don't get a whole lot of impact from truck. It's speed in,
well, that's true.
you know, I don't think you're getting a whole lot of
But when
impact.
that truck is full of garbage, it is one heavy truck.
Does he have an extra axle? He must legally have to have an extra.
I think he's got a pusher.
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, something to think about. The only thing I can see left is item 14. I would need a motion in a second
And a vote.
and a vote.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn the council. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have adjourned at 8:08 PM.
Nice job.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you all.
Welcome, Kurt.
What about the
Yes.
auditing